This video is sponsored by Squarespace. The Wide Field Camera 3 instrument on board the Hubble Space Telescope has 61 optical filters to choose from. We amateur deep sky astrophotographers with mono cameras typically only use 7 filters. And purchasing more exotic filters has long been only possible if you were willing to go with ultra premium or custom one-off filters and shell out some big bucks. But now QHY has done something really cool for their miniCAM8 system. QHY is offering a set of Sloan photometric filters and a super rare Argon AR3 filter at way more affordable prices. And so far, I've only tried the $99 Argon filter, but I was so blown away by the results that I had to make a video to share them. My name's Nico Carver, and this is Nebula Photos. So I previously reviewed the miniCAM8 in this video, and there I was onto the idea of making everything small to make the ultimate mini mono kit, as I called it, which worked super well. But since that review, I've been testing the miniCAM8 with other telescopes and mounts. I first tested it with the new Skywatcher EQ-AL55i mount and an ARRIDISC 96 Apo refractor, both of which I picked up at NEAF to work on reviews of those. And this combination worked well the night I tried it. And since it was galaxy season, I did a one-nighter on the Leo triplet, and I was impressed by this for just 2 hours of data. And then next up, I wanted to see what the miniCAM could do on the biggest telescope in my arsenal, the ASCAR 185 Apo. So I first tested it with just RGB filters on the Whirlpool Galaxy. This was again just a one-night test, 1 hour per filter on April 28th, which was new moon. And the level of detail was for sure impressive. But as my channel name suggests, I'm way more into nebulae than galaxies, so I've been really eager for galaxy season to end so I can start shooting the summer nebulae. And I left this combo of the miniCAM8 and the ASCAR 185 Apo intact with hopes to do some small nebulae shooting with it. And I have some early results on the Valentine's Rose Nebula and Cepheus, but I want to make this one a deeper integration, so I'm not done yet. This is just a quick one-night test. And so far, all these results I've shown are just with the miniCAM8 Deep Sky Kit, which includes the 7 optical filters and retails for $1,000. So fast forward to June, and QHY sent me some new add-ons for the miniCAM8 system. And the first thing I did was replace the dark filter in my filter wheel with the AR3 filter. When you put a filter into the filter wheel, they do have different coatings on the 2 sides of the filter, so pay attention to the little arrow marking on the side of the filter. The arrow should point to the sensor. You also want to use the plastic tweezers that QHY supplied with the camera for installing a new filter so you don't get any oils from your fingers on the filters. Tested the AR3 filter, and I'll talk a lot more about that and those tests in just a few minutes, but let me quickly go over the other things that QHY sent. I haven't had a chance to test the photometric filters yet, so I will cover those in more depth in upcoming videos after I've had a chance to test them. But I did want to point out that the set of photometric filters, which includes 5 filters, comes with a spare filter disc for the filter wheel, which is super convenient, so you can keep your whole photometric set installed in this spare disc and then just swap out your deep sky set of filters quite easily by just exchanging discs without having to remove the little unmounted rectangular filters from their slots, which is not as convenient. So great thinking on QHY's parts, and I'm impressed that 5 scientific filters and a spare disc is only $400. And if QHY releases any more filters in the future, you now still have 3 spots open in your second disc if you're buying every filter available for the camera. For those keeping count, so far we have 13 filters available for the QHY miniCAM8 system. QHY also sent this is an off-axis guider, which is specifically designed for the miniCAM8, and it is a very impressive piece of gear. To install the OAG, you remove these 2 screws from the front of the filter wheel cover, line up the OAG with the 2 screw holes, and then screw it on with these provided longer screws. You then loosen this screw on the side of the OAG and push the prism all the way out of the way to get it out of the way, and then tighten back up that screw. Then you secure the OAG further with the compression ring, which screws onto the C-mount threads. QHY supplies a little U-shaped wrench to install this. Now that the OAG is completely attached to the miniCAM, you bring back down the prism and secure it in this position with the locking screw. If you didn't already, be sure to remove the clear plastic film over the mirror, which is just there to protect the mirror in transport. Then you install your guide camera, lining it up with the prism so the long side of the prism matches the long side of the guide chip. Look directly into the prism to see your guide chip and line it up. And with it lined up rotationally like this, you then secure the guide camera with these 3 thumb screws. Now, keep in mind when finding focus under the stars, you will likely want to move the guide camera up and down to find focus before using the helical focuser, this blue ring, to dial in fine focus. When you move the guide camera up and down, be careful not to rotate it, as we've already lined it up rotationally with the prism. And then finally, you screw in this spacer, which gives you the perfect 55mm back focusing that many telescopes, flatteners, or coma correctors use. And this also ends in 48mm female threads, which is how you would connect to most flatteners and coma correctors, which typically have a 48mm male thread interface to connect to. And that's it for the OAG installation. In terms of how it works, you just focus your main camera so that the light coming in here is focused, and then you focus the OAG by first finding coarse focus, moving the guide camera up and down, then by finding fine focus by twisting the helical focuser, which is this blue ring here. Okay, now into the main event, which is the Argon filter. A number of different gases are often present in planetary nebulae. The ones we typically try to capture are hydrogen, oxygen, and sulfur, but some more exotic ones we can try for with the right filters are nitrogen, helium, and argon. Now, it's not guaranteed you'll get anything with these filters. Just like sulfur, the signal may be too dim, or it may be absent if there wasn't enough energy to ionize the gas. One of the challenges in the past with argon specifically is that the strongest emission line is the AR3 line, doubly ionized argon. And that emission line emits light at 713 nanometers, which is light invisible to our eyes, called the near infrared. And in the past, most imaging sensors you could buy had fairly poor sensitivity to this wavelength, meaning even if your optics could focus and transmit the light, which is not a given, and your filter had high transmission at that wavelength, which was also not a given, the cameras themselves often had a quantum efficiency of below 30% in the near IR. So for every 100 photons you could hypothetically collect, the camera would maybe only register about 30 of them. And this made near IR imaging difficult. I tried it as early as 2017 and basically gave up on it with my gear then. So I had no idea what to expect with QHY's new filter. I did have my hopes up a little bit because I already knew the IMX585 sensor that is inside the miniCam was developed by Sony for security cameras. And the idea behind the technology is you could shine a near IR light on the scene and the camera would then be able to see in the dark, as they say, because they developed very deep pixel wells that are more sensitive to the near IR. This technology started with Sony's Starvis line of sensors, and now onto the second generation they're calling Starvis 2, and the IMX585 is one of the first Starvis 2 sensors that is popular with amateur astrophotographers. So anyways, this is all to say, I was hoping this AR3 filter would work well, but based on the scant evidence available, I really had no idea what to expect. And so when I got my first 5-minute picture back and the ring nebula was bright and detailed, my first thought was, maybe I got the filters mixed up. But then I double-checked everything, I had it all correct. The AR3 filter with the miniCAM8 and the ASCAR 185 Apo is getting nearly as bright a signal on the ring nebula as the S2 filter. And given all the challenges of capturing data in the near IR with consumer gear, I am just blown away by this result. This makes me so excited to try the I and the Z photometric filters, which are wideband near IR filters, and also continue trying, of course, the narrowband AR3 filter on other planetary nebulae like the Dumbbell, but also other kinds of nebulae. Apparently the Crab Nebula, which is one of the brightest, most compact supernova remnants in the sky, may be a good candidate for the AR3 filter. So beyond just the excitement of detecting argon in nebulae, the next question is, how might we incorporate this result into our false color narrowband imaging processing? And the first scheme I tried was the STSCI or Hubble JWST way of working with lots of filter, which is just to map them in chromatic order. So no matter what filters you have, the idea is a pleasing palette can be just to map the longest wavelength to red, the medium wavelengths to orange, yellow, or green, and the shortest wavelength to blue. And I tried that, and for this object, the ring nebula with these 4 filters, it didn't excite me. The major differences in the filter responses are between the HA and the O3, but then there are also fairly noticeable differences right around the edge of the inner ring. See how the argon has this straight shelf here, while oxygen has more of these little outbursts? So to maximize the differences in this case, I made the Argon green because that's the complementary color to pink, which is what these structures would be contrasting with. And while I do think this overall color palette is a bit wild and maybe something I haven't quite seen before or I've never done it myself, I do think it works well for this object and my goals with this image. I only got to this image here you're seeing now after a lot of experimentation, and for me, that is what's most exciting about astrophotography and processing. Not just doing paint by numbers, but really thinking through what you're trying to achieve, paying attention to what the data is telling you, and then letting your creativity and skill with the processing software get you to that final result, which is not what I originally imagined, but through the iterative process of trying things and paying a close attention to what the data was showing me, I was able to get a final result I'm proud of, especially considering this is only 2 nights of data, just under 7 hours total integration split across the 4 filters. And for any image I'm proud of, I put the image on my personal website, nicocarver.com, and I would suggest you do the same. And today's sponsor, Squarespace, makes that super easy to do. Whether you want a professional portfolio site like me or a site to sell prints or services, Squarespace has you covered with tons of beautifully designed templates. And once you're happy with the design, Squarespace has everything you need built in. For example, I wanted an easy to use, spam-free contact form. And it was easy as just drag and drop, fill out a few details, and done. And it just works. And while I'm not currently selling anything on this site, I have investigated the selling tools on Squarespace. And again, they're fully integrated, super easy to use. And once you get some customers, it's easy for them too, as they can pay for things with basically any method you set up, be it PayPal, credit card, or Afterpay. So if you need a website, head to squarespace.com/nebulaphotos for a free trial. And when ready to make a first-time purchase of hosting or a domain, use code nebulaphotos for 10% off at checkout. Till next time, this has been Nico Carver. Clear skies.